First of all, I wanted to pick up on the chairman's question to Ms. Gordon that for wind. He had asked essentially, this is all about regulations. I thought I heard you begin to agree with that, but then in response to Mr. Markey, you said, oh, but we mustn't forget 1603 tax breaks. I'd like you to elaborate on that, but furthermore, I'd like to ask you about the financing for offshore wind, for example. Loan guarantees will be, that were part of the recovery program, will expire this month. As I recall, there were applications made for those loan guarantees for offshore wind, but because those projects were not yet ready, they did not get the loan guarantees. Now, as offshore wind is coming to be ready in various places around the country, those loan guarantees might not be available. How important is that?
And thank you for the question. To be clear, in my response to the chairman, I was responding to a specific question about this committee's jurisdiction, which is why I didn't get into the world, as much of the world of demand and financing as I would have. Those things for the committee in general and other committees are critical. We, as a nation, are behind other nations in the clean energy development world because we don't have the types of suites of policies that provide consistency to these businesses that other countries have. At the Center for American Progress, we've basically divided those into three categories: policies that create markets or that spur markets and demand for these products, like renewable energy standards, feed-in tariffs, and clean energy standards; policies that move financing by either providing loan guarantees or direct financing to these projects to free up money so that people can do development in what is still a fairly risky area in some places in the U.S., and policies that build out an infrastructure so you can actually move this power to market. We have been behind in all of those areas. We have made some significant steps, though, through the Recovery Act in particular on the financing side, and you've pointed to some of these things. The Loan Guarantee Program, the 1603 program, and then a related program, the 48C program that provides tax credits to manufacturers. Those three programs together were only 1% of the Recovery Act dollars, but they've generated, I think, something like 13% of the jobs out of the Recovery Act. They're all critical to making sure that businesses have the policy certainty that these industries will continue to exist and that they can move financing. And the Loan Guarantee Program in particular is a critical one. That program is incredibly efficient for the government. What you're paying for with the Loan Guarantee Program is not the cost of the loan, it's the cost of the potential default on the loan. And for the majority of those loans, we don't see a default. And so the government is actually seeing a huge return on investment for that program overall.
Good.
And the Loan Guarantee Program must be extended to—
Thank you. Along those lines, you know, my colleagues here often talk about running the country more like a business. Someone who knows about running businesses says, quote, raising the productivity of a nation and the prosperity of its citizens depends on two types of innovation: one that improves existing goods and services, and another that invents new ones. The former may result in reduced employment, such as we saw in the oil and gas industry, where world record profits and increased production over recent years has resulted in thousands and thousands of employees being laid off. The latter, in other words, the type of innovation that invents new ones, adds employment. It's a two-part system: improve the old and invent the new. Now, the person whom I'm quoting is Mitt Romney. I'm not here to choose sides in the Republican presidential race, but I think he's right on this point, and I think that's what you were getting at. If we're talking about making jobs, you can make, maybe, if you have good-willed oil and gas corporations, maybe you can make some jobs there. But you can really make jobs in the innovative industries that you're talking about. Well, I don't have time to get on to my next question. Maybe you would like to comment in 15 seconds about that.
Just quickly, I would say that's absolutely true. Where we have gained jobs in this country and built the middle class has been primarily on the back of innovation and on related advanced manufacturing. And in the clean energy sector, we see 26% of the jobs in manufacturing, huge multiplier effects in those jobs, and continued innovation in manufacturing will continue to create jobs, whereas in sectors that are already built out and mature, we don't see that kind of innovation.
Mr. Larson, a question that I think you probably are expert on. What's the marginal price for the production of a barrel of oil? In other words, the last barrel produced, what does that cost approximately?
Well, I guess I would say from our analysis, what we've done, we've looked at the incremental jobs associated with the production.
No, the cost of the barrel.
Right. I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, so I'm not aware of the marginal cost. I do know the incremental costs associated with the offshore and the job opportunities and revenue.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yeah, we've done studies on that, and it really depends where the oil's coming from. For example, if you look at the Canadian oil sands,
nationwide,
nationwide,
now. Today, what's actually
in the order of $40 to $50 a barrel to produce it.
Might even be as high as $60 a barrel, I guess, something like that. And the price per barrel on the world market today is
$80.
And that is determined on the world market, isn't it? It's so so oil companies do have a strong incentive to explore and drill as things stand today. Is that correct?
In terms of profitability?
Yes.
Yes, at
Yeah.
$80.
Back to you, Mr. Larson. What would be the impact? We touched on this earlier, Mr. Thompson and others. What would be the impact of eliminating the various tax breaks, 6 or 8 different tax breaks allowed for oil companies that take, well, maybe $4 billion a year that might be collected in revenues in the United States? What would be the effect of eliminating those?
Our study didn't evaluate those impacts. We just focused on the return of.
Do you think the oil companies would ramp down exploration and production?
Again, we did not look at that.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yeah, I think the issue becomes a question of natural gas prices. Domestic prices are very low, and the marginal value there is significant. And if you need to really understand the specific economics of each barrel that's produced, so something in a barrel in
I guess we need
Dakota.
those one-handed economists again. Ms. Gordon?
Oil is traded on a global market, and the global market the demand is growing every day. China and India in particular are.
And removing those tax breaks?
And we have tax breaks that have been in place for 100 years to incentivize production for a set of industries that is highly profitable.